Sports Jargon Podcast. Yeah, click that right there. There it is. Your host, Adam Stone.
And Josh Burnett.
So,
look at this.
We're back again.
Yeah.
We'll get it out of the way real quick. Not that it's something that we want to get out of the way. Just sad. Damar Hamlin. Tough. Hopefully does well. Hopefully recovers.
As of right now, he was less oxygen to breathe on his own, which is obviously a good sign, but still very scary, very real situation going on.
Super scary. His uncle, shortly about, I don't know, not too long ago, said that, he's in good hands, doing the best they can. So, still fighting, grateful for the support. One cool thing about it was his charity.
Yep, I was
went from $2,500 to almost, I think it's over $4 million.
No, it was over $5.
It's over $5?
Yeah, because it was $5 a couple hours ago. So that's kind of cool.
And his uncle did say that he is improving. So that's not getting worse. So,
yeah, and obviously Bill's team in a playoff push, really tough situation, but can obviously understand. Can understand if they don't want to play the rest of the regular season.
Well, yeah, you and I, when we watched it yesterday, there was just, as soon as they started doing the CPR, like the Bills players were done.
Everybody was done.
Everybody was done, and happy they canceled the game.
Yeah, hats off to McDermott and Zach Taylor. I think that was the only reason why that game got canceled.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because other than that, it seemed like I was like, oh yeah, here, powder back up, clean up, and get back out there.
It was like I feel like the commentators, like when we were listening to it, they're like, oh, they're gonna give them 5 minutes, and they're gonna warm up again, and I was like, ooh, I don't know. We're like, I don't know. I don't think they should play anymore, but hopefully it makes a speedy recovery.
Yeah. Again, I don't see how the NFL doesn't postpone that way sooner. But hats off to both of those teams for realizing the situation.
Yeah, because that was about as bad. I mean, that was a tough situation, and I know. Hopefully Skip Bayless canceled after that for him tweeting that guys.
You can't say that. If you say that, you got to word that a hell of a lot better.
I'm sure if anybody's watching, go home, Google it. I think he's got a couple deleted, and try to double down. I think
you got to. If you're saying something like that, word that so much better. That was so poor. You could kind of tell.
But also too, like just listening to him talk, and then Shannon Sharp skipped Fox Sports 1 this morning. I don't know if you saw that. So he skipped their debate this morning about it. So
who, Skip Bayless did?
No, Shannon Sharp. Skip Bayless showed up. Shannon Sharp.
Really?
No call, no show. Goodbye.
I did not see that. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. No, yeah, fuck Skip Bayless. Guy's literally trash. All right, let's jump into the other games.
Yep.
Speedy recovery.
Yes. T's and P's.
T's and P's. Cowboys Titans. So, game didn't matter for the Titans. Dobbs was the quarterback.
Kind of cool.
Starting this week again.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about Malik Willis. I think that says a lot about Malik Willis.
But Dobbs has at least been a vet. Or not a vet. He's got some sort of experience of the routine of the NFL. Malik Willis, obviously, rookie, things like that. So, I mean, I don't hate that move. So, I don't know.
I think it's just telling where they think Malik Willis is. Somebody who, at draft time, he could be a first rounder. Yeah. I mean, I remember some mock drafts where he was number 7 to Seattle, way back when, or number 10 to Seattle, whatever it was, whatever pick they were. And then now, with the team all season, signed Dobbs off the practice squad. Goodbye, Willis. But what are you going to do?
The team's doing nothing to help him out, though.
Oh no! I mean, we've berated
ad nauseum
we've berated the Titans general manager.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. And I think the only other thing that I want to say was T.Y. Hilton playing somewhat well. He picked up the big 3rd and 30 last week. I think he had 50 yards this week. So, sorry, Odell.
Healthy,
sorry, Odell.
If he could be any sort of healthy come playoff time, the guy's still got it.
Yeah, all of a sudden they look pretty good.
Absolutely.
Moving on, unless you have anything else to add to that, because I mean, really, that one's Titans are waiting for next week.
Yeah.
Cowboys now are pushing for the number 1 spot after we'll get into the Eagles later.
Wild.
So we can move on to the Atlanta Falcons, Arizona Cardinals. Falcons hurt their draft position that was about it.
Yeah.
J.J. Watt retiring. That's like the only thing worth noting because that was it.
Was that J.J.'s last game was it in Glendale? It was, right?
No, I believe that was in Atlanta. Yeah, I was in Atlanta, and because I don't think he's playing another home game. I think they're on the road again. I think that's why he announced his retirement.
Okay. Well, yeah, best of luck to that guy. He's top 5 defensive player all time?
Yep.
I mean, he's got to be.
We can get into after the season. We can get into some all-time debates because we had a great basketball all-time debate. Maybe we'll have time for. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll see. But he was real good. I mean, in the era of the last 20 years, 22 years, he was kind of the Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
In the last 20 years, it's him and Aaron Donald 1 and 2 probably for best defender.
Yeah.
Kuechly you could throw in there too is for front 7 guys.
Yeah.
So according to Pro Football Focus, if you love them, but they kind of always had those 3 guys. It was J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald breaking the scale, and then Luke Kuechly breaking the linebacker scale. But Patriots, Dolphins. I don't really know what else to say about this game. It was a very close game. Dolphins, still not sure what's up with Tua.
Not playing again this week, I don't believe.
Yep.
So
and still, they keep saying he's healthy.
Yeah.
The Players Association says he's healthy. The doctors say he's healthy.
I don't get that. The whole thing is baffling to me. They do their investigation, whatever, and he comes back clean. Everything's good. But it's just an eye test is not telling you that everything's okay. I don't get it. It's kind of scary though.
And I think I've talked to you about this. I've talked to multiple people about this. I think it's easy for us to say, "Hey, don't play him." But man, if he makes the playoffs and he's eligible for his extension, I mean,
barring any crazy injury, that guy's gonna get paid some money.
I mean, around the $200 million range, 5-6 years, that's probably where he would be at. But so it's easy for me to just be like, hey, don't play him. But for him, it's a lot of money on the line.
Yeah,
I don't really know.
That could set up his family.
Yeah, the Dolphins are in a free-for-all. McDaniel should be embarrassed.
He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing anymore.
Kind of doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. As soon as Terrence Armstead went out, they gave up 5 sacks on the left side.
Yeah. Not good.
Not good. So now the Patriots are in the
Patriots
playoff
are in
line.
right now.
I believe they're in.
Winning in.
And then they got to play the Bills. Maybe they don't play the Bills.
Yeah. So that might get them in.
Wild. Who would have thought? So currently the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets, 5-game losing streaks. Mm-hmm. 5-game losing streaks, and they are 1 game. Well, I guess Miami is tied with New England. So what a free for all for those guys.
Jets eliminated last week with that loss too. So
big upset here next game. Unless you have anything else to add to that.
No.
Saints Eagles.
Yeah.
I
was not expecting that.
The pick 6 was a big Marshawn Lattimore running that back.
Did it seem like they tried to put more training wheels on Minshew though? It seems like they weren't trying to run their offense, and they tried to change what they He didn't have very many pass attempts.
And I think
against a good front 7 with the Saints. It's a good defense.
I've always talked about matchups and stuff like this, and you have to know Lattimore's following AJ Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you can't throw him the ball. I'm not saying you can't do everything. But you at least have to be aware of where he is. Because Lattimore completely shut down the left side, pick 6, huge swing.
That route was a terrible route.
A horrible route.
That was a horrible decision. That whole play was just the worst case possible. Because I watched that route by A.J. Brown. It was so lazy. Such a lazy route. If you were supposed to be the number 1 target on that, and you're running that route, that's embarrassing, especially on the 10-yard line.
Because he had 4 catches for 9 targets, but one of them was the 78-yarder. So it's, if you not saying to take that away doesn't count, but then all of a sudden he had 3 catches for 20 yards.
Yeah.
On 8 attempts,
it's not good.
You're kind of throwing your game plan away, trying to force him the ball. Where Devonta Smith was 9 receptions, 13 targets, 115 yards. He was rolling.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about your buddies over in Green Bay. Miles Sanders, 12 carries for 61 yards.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just...
What are you doing?
Hand the ball off.
Yeah.
That's the Eagles have one of, if not the best offensive line in football. They have one of, if not the best defensive line in football.
Yeah.
Run the ball.
Control the game.
Force Hill, force Dalton, whoever's throwing the ball back there, force them to beat you.
Yeah.
You don't give these games away because now all of a sudden the Eagles got to win for the number 1 seed.
And you might be rushing Jalen Hurts back. Yeah, because we don't know what his situation's like right now, but you might be rushing him back to try to get him to start to win that number 1 seed.
The fact that you can't beat the Saints, who were basically out of the playoffs.
But that defense has been good all year.
It has been good. But I'm just saying, like, you have to win that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to give Hurts an extra 2 weeks off, and the game plan you have. I mean, just looking at the statistics, you have the game plan. Like, you have it. Don't throw it at Lattimore.
Yeah.
Use what's working. Run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to beat the Saints more often than not.
Yeah, that seemed like a bad coaching.
Like 20
bad
to 10,
coaching job.
Only could score 10 points. Like,
yeah, that seems like a bad coaching job to me.
Like Hill was just running. Hill was running a lot. Kamara was running a lot, but they weren't super effective.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess we can move on, but all of a sudden there could be some cause for some concern in Philadelphia, where
Absolutely.
we were kind of, I don't want to say big Eagles fans, but we were kind of like, oh yeah,
Yeah, you got to figure out your offensive schemes. You can't allow that to happen.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's stay in the division. Giants, Colts. Could have been Daniel Jones' best game as a pro, but how much? One, I don't even know if you want to talk about it because the Thibodeau sack, Snow Angel next to Foles.
Not great look.
In hindsight, even worse. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, I don't know how a teammate doesn't go, hey, buddy, you just killed him. He's next to you. Can we not do this right here?
And how... If I'm the Indianapolis Colts, you have nothing to play for. If he's doing that, the guy's getting the people's elbow. I'm taking off the helmet, throwing it in the stands. There's no way.
Quentin Nelson, and you're getting the...
There's no way you are letting your teammate lay there hurt while this guy's snow angeling next to him, and you're not putting the boots to him, stomping the mud hole. Austin 316. Where's the can right there? Yeah, like that was disgusting. I think I'm more offended by the Colts not giving him the boot. Like I don't. Not that it was the sack celebration was horrific. But also,
how does a Giants teammate not do that? Like, how does somebody else not look at that and go, "Yo, dude, like this is not."
I mean, I know it's a young team, but I mean they got Collins back there. You should know better. I don't know. That was sad. The Colts are a sad franchise right now.
Starting Nick Foles 2 games in a row, I don't.
What are we doing? Yeah. What are we doing?
If you're gonna do anything, let Ellinger get the reps and just run with it.
Yeah, I think we could talk about it later at the end. I know we don't have it on there, but we might have a quarterback carousel. But right now, I mean, I could very easily see. I think the Colts are currently sitting number 5 right now. I could totally see them making a move up to 1 or 2, 3 to get their quarterback.
Well, they need to figure out that offensive line. That offensive line looks horrendous.
They got to figure out a lot of things.
Yeah,
they
paid Quentin Nelson, and he looks like average, maybe below average guard now. After being an absolute stud on his rookie deal. So I don't know what's going on.
How do you not give him the boot? How do you not give Thibodeau the boot there? I don't know. Like, I saw it, and I was like, wow, that's so shitty.
And then you see what happened Monday, too, and it's like, wow, this is even worse. Like, this makes this look terrible. Absolutely terrible.
But again, we talked about it, and I'm going to bring it up here after we go over this game, too, is like, there's guys that just... When you don't defend your teammate, it says a lot about you as a team. It says a lot about you as an organization. It says a lot about your coach. I don't know what else to say. Colts, you should be embarrassed. Giants should also be embarrassed for doing that. Yeah. But they blew them out. Good for the Giants.
The Giants had a good game.
They're the first time they've made the playoffs in a while.
Since the boat pick.
Since the infamous boat celebration. Currently, they have a date with the Minnesota Vikings, so...
Which I don't hate that matchup.
We'll see how it all ends up, though, because a lot could happen in the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
So let's get into this next one, which I will get heated about, maybe not heated about, but there's a lot that we have to talk about for this game. Perhaps one of the greatest performances of his career, which is saying a lot. Touchdown Tom Brady. Tom Brady, 34 out of 45, 432 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 9.6 yards per attempt.
He ran one too, didn't he?
Ran one in. Yep. And I think he actually had 3 carries. 2 were for a first down, 1 was for a touchdown. If that.
Yikes.
Yeah. 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and a touchdown.
Wow. Can't be having that if you're the
Panthers. Yeah, Mike Evans, I think he just scored another touchdown. I think he just, again, I have to check that
Henderson got burned again, you think?
Henderson, which is, there's so much to get into with that. So Henderson, who embarrassed himself, wouldn't talk to the media, went straight home, did not collect.
I wouldn't talk to anybody, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he did not collect his money from Go, went straight to jail.
I don't even know if I would have went to my locker. I might have drove home in my pads.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so Rachaad White, 11 carries, 22 yards. Fournette, 10 carries for 28 yards.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, 3 carries for 4 yards. Clearly could not run the ball. Like, that's like a yard per carry. Like, it's embarrassing.
We've talked about it. They haven't been able to run the ball all year.
They can't run the ball. Whoever Brady threw it to was open. Specifically Mike Evans.
Yeah.
2 70-yard touchdowns. C.J. Henderson probably shouldn't be in the league. Like, I'd be shocked. I know he was supposed to be their big guy, and he's been horrible. This is his 3rd year. He's been horrible. I don't understand. Carolina wins. They get the tiebreaker. They're pretty much in the playoffs. You're up 14-0. Don't let him behind you. What is the coach doing where he's like, oh, yeah, you know what? We're going to single cover Mike Evans with C.J. fucking Henderson. Like, he's running 10. Like, he was just running, and that's what I was like, oh, they got pressure on him. I was like, he dropped back. 3-step drop, lobbed it up there, and he was 4 yards ahead of him.
Yeah.
Terrible. Good on the Buccaneers. Good on Tom Brady.
Mike Evans now, the only receiver ever, first 9 seasons, 9 1,000-yard seasons.
Incredible. And
for the first 9 seasons of his career, first ever.
And I think he's up there with, they showed about 1 million times, so I should know. I think Tim Brown and Jerry Rice.
Yep.
For 9 consecutive seasons, for how good he has been and how long.
Rookie year till now, the guy's just been consistent business.
Shout out. So imagine there's another player on the Buccaneers that had 9 catches on 9 targets for 120 yards. You get overshadowed. Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
9 for 9, 120 yards because Keith Taylor Jr. But I mean, that was J.C. Horn was hurt.
Yeah.
So it's like at that point, whatever. But an embarrassing performance by Carolina. A lot of things could happen now.
Yeah.
So Carolina, after the game, we saw C.J. Henderson went home sad.
Yep.
They are now in talk with Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, you're big hype about this.
I am big hype. Now, I am big hype on this. He's like 44-19 as an NFL coach. Like, he's won all over. He's won with Alex Smith. He won with Kaepernick. He turned Michigan around. He's an incredible college coach. I'm big hype on this, but I think, and it's a lot. So after this came out, after the game, whatever, Cam Newton talked about how nobody respected Matt Rule and whatever. Nobody defended him, nobody whatever. So I think that kind of goes a long way where I think nobody ever talked shit about Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Steve Wilkes, they're kind of like, he's our guy. We like him. He makes us play hard. But they don't, they're behind him, but I don't think they're super behind him. I think they're just whatever. But out of Carolina.
I think they'd probably like him to stay, regardless of who gets hired.
So I think in an ideal world, and this is, and we talked about this with the Houston Texans, in an ideal world, you bring in Jim Harbaugh, Steve Wilkes should go be the defensive coordinator, make it work. But then, unfortunately, you can't do that because you're going to have guys that Wilkes will be their guy if he's there, and they'll always favor him. So you can't do that, but that would be the ideal world to do something like that. And I think the fact that David Tepper is reaching out to him and talking to him, and about 800 Twitter reporters are like, if they offer him the job, he's going to take it.
Yeah.
A lot of times like this, when there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
He's one of the richest owners. He'll pay him.
Yeah.
Just, I guess, to look out there. And then also, too, he'll get to pick who his quarterback wants to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's C.J. Stroud. I mean, we talk about the national championship game, but C.J. Stroud shredded the Georgia defense. They lost, but he had an absolutely phenomenal game. But I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to touch on.
No, not really. That kind of wraps everything up with that game, honestly.
But I mean, is that kind of Tampa Bay can't run the ball, but they can throw the ball.
Yeah.
They can make the playoffs.
That game was very much how the Panthers season has been.
Mm-hmm.
You get one step forward, you get about 8 steps back.
Yeah, because excuse me, Carolina's making plays.
Darnold looked pretty good.
Darnold looks good. He's like, yep, this is great, and then that interception, if you want to say horrific interception, all day to throw, throws it to his third-string tight end to double coverage. The guy picks it off, and he's like, what are we doing? Lost 2 fumbles like the waterway. He picked it up, kicked it around. It was kind of embarrassing, but one was a sack fumble. But
Jake Camargo saved the Buccaneers season with that scramble around
that was
punt.
a beautiful punt. Yeah, now just something that I want to talk about, too. So Tampa Bay clinches. They're now home field. The way Dallas has been playing, if it is Dallas, they haven't looked great. Now all of a sudden you got to go to Tampa Bay.
They beat them earlier in the year.
The pressure gets on, right? The pressure's on a little bit, and
the Bucs beat the Cowboys.
Even if there's a swap, if the Eagles swap down there, because it looks like the Eagles Cowboys, they could be 1, they could be 5.
If I'm the Bucs, I'm licking my chops, and I'm an Eagles fan this weekend.
Right? You got to all of a sudden, Tampa Bay could get going in.
And I don't care what you say. Nobody wants to see Tom Brady in the playoffs. I don't care who you are. Nobody does.
Well, all of a sudden now you're looking at it. Yeah, the 49ers beat the Buccaneers, but Brock Purdy against Tampa Bay in the playoffs is different. The Vikings are not looking great. All of a sudden, if they win a game, do they want to play Tampa Bay? I doubt it.
Yeah.
The Eagles, if Jalen Hurts can't play, do you want to play Tom Brady? All of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a second, and it's just one of those things. Because I wanted to touch on that because they were talking about it on ESPN all this morning. They're like, who wants to play the Buccaneers? Literally nobody, because you're going to have to beat them. Tom Brady's not going to throw the game away. You're going to have to beat them. All right, we've talked about those 2 teams to death. Kansas City, Denver. I think it was one of those obviously not the playoffs, or the Broncos embarrassing themselves. A division game, they're always tight. Kansas City wins.
It's been a good defense all year for the Broncos.
Yeah. And Kansas City keeps their number 1 seed so far. So
honestly, the biggest thing that I want to talk about in this game, do we find it weird that all the Broncos players all of a sudden came out to Russell Wilson's defense after this game?
I don't.
I don't know. It just seems awfully weird to me. Or maybe it wasn't after this game.
I think it was after last game, but it was kind of into this game. But again,
it just seems weird to me. I don't know.
Again, I think there's a lot of factors. There has to be a lot of factors in there. Because Jerry Jeudy was.
Did they hate Nathaniel Hackett that much? That's almost what it seems like to me.
Well, here's your problem, and this is we've talked about this. I don't know if we've talked about it on our podcast or not, but. You have a weird situation. You have Russell Wilson for the next 5 years. I don't know.
You have to.
I think I've looked in there. They can get out of after 4 years, maybe 3 if they're willing to take a big hit. So your next 3 years, you have to have Russell Wilson there. Nobody's going to trade for Russell Wilson. Unless you're giving up, hey, New Orleans, we'll give you our first and Russell Wilson for a 7th round pick just to get rid of this guy. That's what it's going to take to get rid of that contract.
That you're eating it and trading.
You're Jerry Jeudy. He's the first guy that comes out. He knows what it's like to play with Drew Lock and the other guys. So is he saying it because he's got his contract coming up next year? His player option comes up at the end of next year. Are you doing it now to be hey, okay, guys, we have to regroup here because no one's going to want to come here if it's dysfunctional. Latavius Murray is their leading rusher on the year.
Jesus.
Melvin Gordon is second at 318 yards. Javonte Williams, who knows what he comes back with after a torn ACL. Mike Boone got hurt.
Yeah.
They were riddled with injuries. You got Judy, you got Sutton. The tight end, Dulcich looks pretty good. They look like they struck gold on tight end. Look at their...
There's a good receiving core over there.
Right, and their defense has played well. So, if you can... I feel like if you could just get something out of this offense. That's the thing. If you can get literally something out of this offense.
Well, if they had scored 20 points, wouldn't they be
It was something outrageous. They would be a playoff team. But it is... because we've talked about it. We're it's weird. Nobody defends Russell Wilson. Well, now all of a sudden everybody's defending him.
It just seems weird to me. It just seems weird to me that all happened within the past week and never before.
Right, and that was the Broncos were talking about. There was speculation that they were going to go after Harbaugh as soon as Michigan lost. And then now sources are he'd rather go to Carolina than Denver. I don't know. It's interesting.
I did see that too.
It's very interesting, and you got to find. Basically, whatever coach you pick, it's got to be a strong head coach because you walk in there. Your job is, hey, you need to fix Russell Wilson.
You need to be able to corral Russell Wilson in Team 3.
And you need his teammates to be on board, and whether it's the ownership, the interim, I don't know, but somebody has to be like, guys, you got to help your guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if you don't like him, you got to at least help the guy, because what are you going to do, demand a trade? Like, what are you going to like? What is your options at this point? And then you can't really do that, because it's like, oh, we had a horrible head coach. You got your head coach fired. Can't play with Russell Wilson. Where are you going to go? Who's going to want you? You know, like you're going to get pennies on the dollar for whatever. But now, the next game that I want to get into, which is going to lead up to a matchup of next week, but we had Detroit versus Chicago Bears. Now, man, Justin Fields. Let's talk about Justin Fields. So Justin Fields, I was watching part of that game between that Carolina, because I like the Lions. I like watching the Lions.
Yeah, the Lions are exciting.
I think they're exciting, and I think the Bears are exciting.
Fields is fun to watch when he's playing well.
Fields, 105 rushing yards in the first quarter. Like, wow, 60-yard run. You're like, wow, this guy is electric. 7 for 21 passing.
Yeah.
For 75 yards. That is 3.6 yards per attempt with an interception just to go along with it. Shout out Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's the first rookie ever, or the first player ever, with 7 sacks and 3 interceptions in a season.
Oh shit!
Right? Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, that's good. How do you win? Oh, man, against a bad Detroit defense, you go 7 out of 21.
Yeah.
Now, do we want to talk about the play where towards the end of the game, Detroit didn't rush anybody, and they just and then Fields.
Yeah, and then Fields threw an interception.
And Fields threw an interception. He threw the interception. What are we doing?
How do you not run?
Are we done with Fields? I don't. So
if they're not rushing anybody, how do you not run?
I'm not saying.
How do you not go? You stand in the pocket, or you put the ball down by your side because nobody's rushing you, and you go, hey guys, run! I will follow behind you.
Be like, you make a wedge. I will run behind you. There's nobody that's want to stand there and get ran over by this offensive lineman. They're going to have to go up and around. I'm like, I just don't understand. Go down the Lions.
But that was wild. Absolutely wild. That play in particular.
Jamal Williams had a career high 144 rushing yards. DeAndre Swift had.
Well, that Bears defense is terrible too. So
yeah, I mean, I just, you see some of these games and you're like, how can you win with Justin Fields? And I've been on his bandwagon. I kind of wrote him off after the Washington game. Then week 8 through now, he's played better. He's been erratic. I mean, there's some game against Green Bay. He was a horrible interception that kind of ruined the game for him. But
he shows a really high ceiling, but there's no floor. The floor's gone.
The floor is gone.
That's a tough way to run your quarterback.
And I think the fact that you only scored 10 points against one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah. That's a lot for me.
I don't know. I mean, the one good thing about it is you have a great showdown now, right? Detroit, Green Bay for the last playoff spot.
Yep.
Maybe, I don't know. There's some weird things that could happen there, but I just wanted to throw that out there. And then also, I don't know if you've been aware, but there's been some little rumblings that Detroit could be a good landing spot for Tom Brady. I think I brought it up to you before.
I don't know
if I haven't, well, there's been some rumblings. I saw somebody mention it on TikTok, and I'm like, oh, just some random TikToker, I don't know. And then I saw were saying that, hey, it's appealing. He's a Michigan guy.
I don't see it. He doesn't want to go. They've got the dome, but that means he's still got to go play Chicago and Green Bay in the cold at least once. He don't want to do that.
The big thing is his kids are in Florida.
He is.
I think that's a big thing, but
he's 40,
he's
45
years old.
He's
gonna be 46.
He's a warm weather guy.
I guess you kind of look at it though, like you get to play in the dome, you get to play in Minnesota's dome. You have St. Brown, you have Williams, you have probably DJ Chark. Looks like he wants to come back. You have Jamal Williams if he comes back.
I don't see
Smith.
that.
You have an elite offensive line. Palat's got to go into the defense, but just throwing it out there that it's something that could happen. Moving on. I'm excited for Green Bay, Detroit, though. I can't wait to watch that game.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game.
Cleveland, Washington. The only thing that I'm going to say about this game, Ron Rivera should be fired.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz should be fired.
Yep.
They won't be fired because they're trying to sell Washington.
Yep.
Trying to explain to an owner, hey, you got to eat this dead money and you got to buy the team. Probably not appealing. But how do you... I don't know what else you want to say, but how the hell...
How do you go out there with Commander Carson instead of starting
3 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for Commander Carson. I mean, I think he had his LeBron James leap over touchdown for a 1-yard run. But is there anything we could say to defend anything Washington has done quarterback wise?
No, absolutely not.
I mean, Heineke should have been the starter from the start.
Their numbers are very similar, believe it or not, in their 8-game stretches or whatever it was. But the team was winning. So what are you doing?
Yeah, do you know what the thing with Heineke? He just adds that dimension where he'll extend the play. Like I think he gives them hope. He's willing to throw the ball down the field. He's willing to do a lot of things that Wentz. But I don't really know what else to say about it.
Wentz has got the ability to extend the play too, but then he turns around and punts it to the defense. Like
you can't turn the ball. I don't know. It's just I'm gonna pull up their stats here side by side just to see because I mean the other. Completion percentage is about the same. I mean, the big difference is Heineke, 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Gets sacked 7 times less. Wentz, 11 and 9. So,
yeah.
Wentz turns the ball over and produces less touchdowns.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Mm-hmm. Like, what are we doing? You can't punt the ball away. And the team just doesn't seem to like Carson Wentz.
No.
The Eagles team didn't seem to like him. The Colts, maybe the guy's a dick.
Yeah.
Maybe he's
I've heard that. I've actually heard that.
I've heard that. I know that was big reports out of Philadelphia, and I know he was like super bitter about Nick Foles. I mean, they won the Super Bowl, so what are you going to say? But, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that game. Washington, goodbye. You're out of the playoffs. That's what you get. Yeah. Rivera, you embarrassed yourself, which is tough for me because I'm a big Ron Rivera fan, but you embarrassed yourself.
I like Riverboat Ron, too, but he sank the boat on that one.
And then I'm going to move by here real quick. Jaguars absolutely stomped the Texans. The game didn't matter really for the Jaguars because that comes down to their matchup with the Titans. Mm-hmm. I know we keep saying that Etienne and Trevor Lawrence are studs,
pretty good.
Absolute studs, and Texans are calling up. I'm seeing now that they might really like C.J. Stroud. Right now they're just like, is it Stroud, Levis, or Bryce Young? If Stroud comes out, because I'm also seeing that Stroud might. I
remember you said that
might come back because they had a 5-star recruit. I can't think of what his name is. I'll cheat in a second and look it up. But he decommitted to Ohio State because he's hearing rumors that C.J. Stroud might come back. Mm-hmm. So that would be if that doesn't happen, the only thing I'll say is the Bears' number 2 pick explodes in value because if you want a quarterback, you better get it number 2. And the Chicago needs all the help they could get. So.
And it looks like they're probably going to stick with Fields.
You have to. You have to just because he was your number 1 draft pick.
He's got such an upside.
And you didn't play him a lot year 1. Like he played like the second half of the season. And he was horrible 1 through 7, like I said. But then 8 through 17, you kind of watched him play. Or 8 through 16, you watched him play and you're like, we could have something here. This could be a Lamar Jackson-esque type player, even more electric. I mean, he's got a chance to break Lamar Jackson's rushing record already. Yeah. But yeah, I don't really know what else is. Texans, get your guy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Get anybody.
49ers, Raiders. Interesting game.
Yeah.
So, Purdy played okay. He had that horrible interception. I don't know what he was doing on that play.
Yeah, bad.
Kind of just yeeted it, but he's a 7th round pick. Yeah. What do you expect? Super close game, but I think obviously the story out of this game is Jared Stidham. So I think he had an interception early, had an interception late, but
interception was to seal it in overtime.
That was the seal in overtime, but I mean 365 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not pretty good.
Yeah, no. I can't remember because I was watching the end of that game. I can't remember if that interception was just a good play or not. I'm blanking on whether or not that was. But does this foreshadow what Josh McDaniels has been preaching all year, that he wants a guy who knows his system?
So,
Devontae Adams looked like an extra receiver.
I mean, Adams had a game. 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. Darren Waller had a big touchdown. It's just... Now, I think what makes this even more impressive is that they did this against the San Francisco 49ers defense. Yep. It wasn't Houston. It wasn't Detroit's defense. It was, hey, we went up there, we almost beat the 49ers in a game that they're trying to win. They're trying to get that home field. Like, everybody's in line.
Wild.
It's a game that they wanted. But, I mean, you know.
This is why I'm big Brady going to the Raiders guy.
I know you're a big Brady going to the Raiders. We'll see what that happens, but it's just, it kind of makes you worry now about Derek Carr. Because.
He's gone.
He's done. He's gone.
He's so gone.
I think something that I would be wary of the team. I know there's a few places that I would.
This is his worst statistical year of his career.
Right, and I think
by a lot.
And you can, and I think, well, I guess if you're looking at a player's perspective, okay, this is my worst career, but maybe McDaniels isn't that good. Maybe this isn't. He's not running the plays I want him to run. He shouldn't be doing what he's doing. But then, when Stidham goes in there and puts up 34 against the 49ers, takes them almost overtime.
I think it was overtime.
Oh, was it? I think
it was overtime. Stidham threw the interception in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So, but it's like,
yeah, I know.
Where do you go?
This makes McDaniels look really good and Carr look really bad.
And then now all of a sudden, the Raiders have some options because do you roll with Stidham next year? Do you trade Derek Carr, whatever value he has left? Because we've looked at his contract about a gazillion times. They can get out of it. It's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah, no. It's got to be pre-June
1st
or whatever.
I think it's June 1st. As long as you get out of it, you're good to go.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot of teams calling for him.
Because I think he's still, obviously, outside of this year, he's been a good quarterback.
Well, I mean,
it's just, but I don't know how you're bad this year because they went out and got your guy for you.
Right,
they got
the guy for him, like the guy,
and he's either been boom or bust. He's either been 2 catches for 11 yards, or he's been 9 catches for $140.
And I think just look at the teams that I've talked about it a gazillion times. Look at all the teams that could use a quarterback. I mean, I'm going through that could use a Derek Carr. I mean, we'll see what happens with Tua.
You got the Jets.
You've got the Jets. I mean,
maybe the Seahawks.
What if Lamar Jackson leaves? All of a sudden, now you have the Ravens opened up. You have Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like
Texans,
Colts. I mean, that's just the AFC, and then I'm going to go through real quick. If Brady leaves, you have an opening in Tampa Bay.
You got the Falcons.
The Giants, depending on what they do with him. I mean, the Falcons, he's an upgrade over Mariota.
Maybe Seattle, depending on what they want to do with
Seattle. You don't think the Saints would love Derek Carr?
Exactly.
Carolina would have killed for Derek Carr this year. It's the Rams. Let's see what happens with Stafford. I've heard he might retire. Who knows?
Baker's still. They kind of like Baker. I don't really know what's going on.
I don't know if they don't have a first this year. But all of a sudden if you have Derek Carr and Baker, at least you have something. I could see him going to a backup for Chicago. I could see him. He's going to find a place where he's a starter, near starter. Same thing with Arizona. Kyler Murray might not start the next year. There's a lot of options for him, and the Raiders are going to have to figure out what to do with that.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, who knows? The draft's going to get wild. I think the draft in the quarterback circle is going to get absolutely wild. But shout out Jarrett Stidham. Good for him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
good
absolutely.
For him. The Seahawks beat the stuffing out of the Jets.
Yeah, that is.
We've liked the Seahawks and where they're going. Ken Walker, the third.
Yeah,
looks real good.
Jets just laid an egg.
Yeah.
Mike White did not look.
No.
He was playing hurt still too, wasn't he?
I'm thinking that he played hurt because this was if they lost, they were out.
Yeah.
What do you're not going to put Wilson in.
He looked bad.
I think this was his, I think he doesn't play next week. I think you kind of rolled out there, whatever.
Yeah.
They couldn't run the ball.
No. Which is, that Seahawks defense has been kind of sus, if you will.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, absolutely sus. The Seahawks have put themselves in great position, and they're one of the 3 teams now vying for the thing. I don't know I don't know what else you want to touch on, but
there's not really much.
There's really good on the Seahawks, and then we'll get into it. This is, and I think this next game that we'll talk about is big for you. I feel like we've been talking about this forever. It seemed way long ago when we started this podcast. I don't think the Vikings are that good.
No,
they've won every close game. They have good receivers, But
apparently, if you meet Jair Alexander,
you've got an issue. Hang on, I gotta hit him with the gritty. Like the first ever gritty on the podcast. I love that Jair is like, "Hey Jefferson, fuck you.
Yep.
You didn't do it against me. If you do it against me, you talk shit." And that was bold because Jefferson has run roughshod on everybody this year. I mean, he might break 2,000 yards until this game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alexander was like, "Our playoff line. This is our line." I don't know who decided it, but he's like, "I'm covering Jefferson." And we talked about it during the Bills game where it's like, put him on Diggs.
Yeah.
Put him on their top guys. He went on Jefferson. Jefferson had. Hang on, let me see if I'm reading this correctly. I'm going to talk real close. 1 catch for 15 yards on 5 targets. 5 targets he only got. Can we defend the Vikings? We kind of knew this was coming.
Well,
right?
I just want to say this too. This was the second time ever that he had been held scoreless targetless in the first half.
Yep.
And can you guess who the other team that did it was?
Was it Green Bay?
Yes, back in 2020. Which you can imagine who was covering him.
Alexander, yeah.
Yes.
But I really
Put
think
respect on the guy's name, please.
I think the formula the Vikings used, Green Bay was like, hey, you know what? We're going to use the same formula. We're going to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
We'll throw it when we need to, except that Rodgers spread it out. He didn't just target one guy. He spread it out.
He was dishing it around.
He's dishing it around, and Kirk Cousins beat us.
Yeah.
Cook, you're not beating us. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Cook. Cousins, you have to beat us. And Cousins was like, Nick Mullins, can you give it a try? I can't do anything. I mean, man.
Nick Mullins scored more points than Kirk Cousins did.
I mean, we both think that the Vikings are in serious trouble.
Yeah.
And
this puts their point differential back in the negatives pretty heavily. And I mean, now all of a sudden it's like you look through, and we talked about it way back when, and it's, who have they beaten? Not great.
Right. I mean, like, they beat the Bills, but they shouldn't have beat the Bills.
Yeah. That was Josh Allen's Alma or whatever the hell the thing is. Tommy John elbow.
Here's their wins. I mean, Green Bay week 1, whatever. Lost to the Eagles. Week 1. That's Green Bay's thing. They don't play week 1.
Yeah.
They barely beat Detroit. Barely beat the Saints. Barely beat the Bears. Barely beat the Dolphins without Tua.
Yep.
Barely beat the Cardinals, who are terrible. That barely beat the Commanders. Get a gifted victory to the Bills. Get absolutely trounced by the Cowboys. Beat the Patriots. That's not bad. The Jets, who are in their free fall.
Mm-hmm.
Get dusted by the Lions. Barely beat the Colts. The biggest comeback ever. Barely beat the Colts.
Shout out Matt Ryan.
Barely beat the Giants. Get decimated by the Packers. Oh man! All of a sudden, it's not looking too good, right?
All of a sudden, you got to be worrying, right? You have to.
And I mean,
relax or panic. Where are you, Adam?
I've been full panic since we started looking at their victories, and I was like, oh man, and like watching them play. Man, so then now they barely beat the Giants. They'd have a week 1 matchup with the Giants, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is possible if they win, Eagles lose, 49ers lose. You know, if the 49ers lose, Vikings win, they move up. Do they want to play Seattle, Detroit, or Green Bay? No. Like, who do you want to play if you're Vikings?
That's the scenario I'm praying for.
You're praying for that, yeah.
Well, the Eagles doesn't really matter. The Niners need to lose. If the Niners lose and the Vikings win, I am praying for that situation.
And now, oh man, but who do you want to play if you're Minnesota? Is it the Giants? Like, you barely beat the Giants.
I think you want to play Seahawks.
Right? Like, you're hoping Detroit wins. You're hoping Seattle wins, and you're hoping the 49ers lose and you win to be like, hey, we want the Seahawks. But even then, like,
that's a lot.
I don't know.
That's a lot for me.
I don't know if I'd pick the Vikings over the Seahawks. Like, I will, because it's hard for me to be like, hey, a 7 seed is going to beat a 2 seed at home. But you look at it and you're like, man, like,
one of the better offenses in the league against one of the shittier defenses.
Right, and then it's the only thing I was like, think about what every team can run on the Vikings. Like, do you want to see not saying that he's super fresh, like, but do you want to see Walker in the playoffs? Probably not, right? I mean, I don't know what else you want to say about it other than who would have thought Green Bay back from the bottom of the barrel coming back.
It's like the Undertaker gif. He did Undertaker meme when he's sitting up on the.
Yep.
But Rodgers is the same type of thing that Brady's posing. how many people are going to want to play Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs?
Well, again, here's the problem. Again, I'll put them in the same category. If you play Green Bay, you have to beat Green Bay. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to go out there and throw 3 interceptions. Aaron Jones isn't going to go out there and fumble 2-3 times. Their defense isn't going to give up 50 points. So you have to go in there and you have to outplay Green Bay. So
and don't kick it to Keyshawn Nixon if you haven't figured it out.
I mean, like, realistically, if Green Bay wins and San Francisco gets number 2, I don't think San Francisco is super worried. I mean, they've kind of owned. Well, I mean, I know I jokingly texted you. I'm like, what if this is the year they actually finally beat them?
I think I'd have to run to the bathroom. Right, I think I'd shit myself.
Yeah, like you don't want to see the 49ers. You don't want to see the Eagles.
No.
But the Vikings, like,
yeah.
I mean, and then if you get past the first round, I mean, if Hurts isn't 100%, all of a sudden you're looking at Rodgers, you're looking at Buccaneers, and you're like, maybe they're not as far away from making a run as you think.
Yeah.
A lot's got to depend on what happens. I mean, they're still going to have to beat Detroit because, I mean, they played the Lions earlier.
The Lions always play the Packers well. The Lions in their 0-16 season, guess what? They played the Packers well.
And I mean,
that's how it's been the entire rivalry as long as I can remember.
And that was when last time they played, they won 15-9. I mean, I don't
see that being a score like that again.
That'll never happen again, right? I mean, that was Detroit basically was like, hey, we're not going to let you run the ball, and Rodgers threw 3 interceptions. But I don't think in a gazillion years that'll happen again. No. Now, don't get me wrong. With Jamison Williams, all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, like you have to have someone over top of him because he's so fast. So like it adds an extra dimension to Detroit. But I will. This will be a guarantee. The Packers will score more than 9 points.
Yes.
This Sunday, I 100% guarantee it. Mm-hmm. Lock it in if that's a bet. Like they will definitely score more than that.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
That's going to be a great game. I'm super excited.
Yep.
Let's see. I don't even know if you want to talk about the Rams and Chargers. That was just whatever.
The city of LA might have been torn in that game, though.
Right, yeah, that was whatever. And then I don't know if you want to get into, good on the Chargers for just decimating them.
Yeah. I mean, first time in the playoffs under what's his old buddy there?
And I'm kind of, and then just moving on real quick. Pittsburgh beat Baltimore.
Great game.
That was a great game, but Pittsburgh I don't think is far off as a lot of.
No.
They've
got talent.
They need a lot of offensive line help, but
but the offensive line's been playing well the last couple of weeks, and look at what happened.
Well, like all of a sudden, like
Kenny Pickett's gone two big drives at the end of games to win games.
I mean, like Najee Harris looked like a problem. Like he looked like how he looked last year, and then again, it's like the same thing. It's like they just churn out wide receivers. Like that's what Pittsburgh does. They churn out wide receivers. Deontay Johnson and George Pickens, all of a sudden you're looking at
like, Freiermuth is one of the top
emerging tight ends.
Yeah,
they definitely could use some offensive line help, but again,
they've been playing well late.
Their defense looks pretty good.
And Kenny's doing what he's got to do.
Yeah, and their defense is it's there. You look at it and it's there.
They have the best safety in the league in Minka Fitzpatrick.
He's a problem. Watt's a problem.
Yeah.
They've last year they had a top 5 defense. I don't know what they are defensive. Like
they're probably middle of the road-ish, but they haven't been healthy all year.
Right. So
TJ Watt.
Well, Watt. That's what I'm saying because Watt missed a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I don't really know where. I don't know. I don't know where it falls, but either way, Pittsburgh, all the team, are all of a sudden. Yeah, they might not make it. They might not make the playoffs this year.
They're going to be a problem in a couple years.
Next year.
Yeah, next year even.
Next year they could be a problem.
Yeah.
And then also too, I forgot. Going back to the Eagles, just because as I'm looking through this, I think are they the first team ever with 4 defensive linemen with 10 sacks each?
Oh, yeah, they've got to be, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're the first team ever. They might be the first team ever with 3 guys like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But just quick shout out to those guys.
Yeah. Well, Sweat going to the hospital after that game.
That was scary. Yeah, that was a lot of terrible injuries.
Yeah,
they had. Because I think they have something like 68 sacks. It's like unbelievable. I mean, Fletcher Cox has 7 sacks. He's number 5 on the team.
And he's a nose tackle.
Reddick, Hargrave, Graham, Sweat, Cox.
What?
Yeah, all of a sudden you're like, oh shit.
Fletcher Cox is their nose tackle, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, he's
got 7 sacks.
Yeah, 7 sacks for 5th on the team.
Yeah,
5th on the team. But yeah, I think that covers most of the football. I mean, that covers.
Look at us.
We got a lot. We got a lot that I'm trying to think if there's anything else there. You want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the national Georgia Peaches versus the Ohio State?
Yeah, we could give that a go.
I mean, that was a phenomenal game.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing that C.J. Stroud earned himself he's going to be a top 5 pick, I assume. Someone's going to go up and get him. If he comes out, that was a wild game. I mean, good on Georgia to come back and bring it down. Like, Bowers is going to be a top pick next year. They're tight end. Marvin Harrison Jr.
is going to be a problem.
Wow.
Watching that game, that kid is incredible.
He is going to earn some money. He's going to earn some money.
He runs some beautiful routes.
Well, watching him, I don't even know. He's so fast.
Yeah.
And he's got that frame that he can make explosive plays. He can go over you.
Yeah.
He can go around you. He can go through you. That was good. And now it sets up because one of the big upsets was TCU over Michigan.
I was not thinking
you weren't shocked.
I wasn't super surprised.
You weren't shocked
because it was run offense against run defense. That was what you were looking at.
Yep, and I mean realistically too. We like Duggan, right? We like him.
That kid's
a lot.
A dog.
We like that kid a lot more than Michigan's quarterback McCarthy there.
Yeah.
But it's just
that kid's a dog.
He is a player. He is good. I mean, I think he's going to get drafted somewhere. I mean, I don't know if it's going to. I think he's projected as a later round pick, but no, he's a phenomenal player.
I would take a flyer on him.
But I mean, now all of a sudden,
the kid leaves it out there.
Right, and all of a sudden now, who you got? You got Georgia. You got TCU.
TCU. What did I say it was? It was like a 14.5 point favorite.
14.5, and I believe that.
And Georgia was favored to beat that spread.
Yes, because I believe it's still going up because they're trying to balance it out.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I mean,
actually, I want to take a look at that.
Yeah, I believe it's. And Stetson Bennett is going to play. I know there was some talk that he might not play. There's no way. I mean, there's no way he's not going to play. No. But I don't know. TCU's looked pretty good this year.
They've doubted a lot of people. They
have some quality wins.
It is now 13.5.
13.5.
TCU is favored to cover it.
Okay, because I mean,
so we're trickling down TCU.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and TCU has some good wins. I mean, they beat Kansas State. They beat Kansas State twice. Or no, I'm sorry, Kansas State beat them. They beat one of them once. Yep. Beat Michigan.
Yeah.
I think they beat Texas. They beat Texas. So it's not impossible. I don't think it's impossible. They played some good games. Again, I'm sure that's a team that Georgia has more talent. They shouldn't lose that game, but they probably didn't want to see TCU, right? I honestly think they would rather have saw Michigan because you know what you're going to get out of Michigan.
Yeah,
they're going to run. Their Corum's going to run the ball a gazillion times. But I mean, Georgia's got some big wins this year. They beat Tennessee. They handled Tennessee.
They've got some big fucking guys too.
They got some big boys. Well, I mean, that's the other thing too is you look at their team and look at all the guys from last year, and then you look at all the guys from this year. I mean, Washington's going to be he's going to be drafted. That's their tight end.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter is going to be a top 5 pick probably. Nolan Smith's probably going to be a top 10 pick. Ringo is going to be a top pick either this year or next year, depending. I don't know if he's a senior or not.
They've got some dudes on that team.
They have that. Their tight end room is that Eric Gilbert kid who is absolutely monstrous. They've got Darnell Washington, Brett Bowers. You're embarrassing yourself. Just loaded with talent. Williams, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it's a game. Broderick Jones. I'm just looking through and it's wow, they're loaded. But
yeah,
that should be interesting.
Absolutely.
Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything. We actually have time. We actually have some time here. This is kind of weird.
This is weird.
I guess we could hit basketball. Hit some basketball real quick.
We never hit basketball.
Let's hit Donovan Mitchell, 71. At the most points scored since Kobe dropped 81.
Yep. On a tough night because I feel like it really didn't get tough.
It got overshadowed. It was. What are you gonna do?
I can't blame anybody for that, obviously. But
oh yeah, no. It is.
No, and the Nets are 12 straight, extending their
So the
extending
Nets,
the NBA streak right now.
Yeah, so the Nets are 12 straight, and I think they've moved up to number 2 in the conference. They're ever so slightly behind Boston Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they're playing well. We're going to see how long they can make this last because last year, we saw what happened last year. And then how they started off this year. Yeah. Everybody we were like Geno Smith, we wrote them off.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we're not writing back. They've ripped off some wins. Giannis dropped 55, I think, the other night or last night, and it was the career high for him.
Somebody else dropped a ridiculous amount of points too. Clay dropped 54 last night.
Yeah, Clay had double OT, hit the gritty all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh, and then what other celebration a lot of guys do? Have you seen the thing where you're too small and they put the I don't know why, but I get a chuckle every time they do that. I kind of hate though. I was watching. I can't remember what game it was. And some guy got a first down catch and it was like 0-0, and he did it, and I'm like, all right, don't overdo it.
My favorite was when Russ used to do it to people.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Russ is 6 foot out there back in OKC, and he would just absolutely hammer on people.
Oh, absolutely. But I think a lot
he would rock the baby.
But I think the Brooklyn Nets have kind of figured out, and I don't know if I want to say figured it out, but switching Ben Simmons to point guard, if that's what you want to call it. Positions I think are kind of dead in the NBA.
Yeah.
But he is now the distributor of the ball,
which he should have been.
So
because Kyrie's a shooter.
Right,
he's not a bad passer, but Kyrie is a shooter.
And I think they have the perfect. So you've got Curry out on the side; he could shoot from 3. So Kyrie Irving last game, 27 points, 8 rebounds, 0 assists, 1 turnover. So basically, Kyrie Irving has kind of turned into a scorer, kind of turned into a shooter. He's 4 for 5 from 3.
Yep.
This is against the San Antonio Spurs, but I think this is just kind of the formula that they've been using. So Ben Simmons, 9 assists, 5 shots, 4 points. He doesn't care, and now all of a sudden it takes such a burden out, and then now you have Simmons on defense.
Yeah, because that was the big thing that I thought was going to be very key to getting. I mean, obviously, the whole trade, everything just kind of was fucky with that whole thing.
Oh, but
with getting Ben Simmons though, that was my first thought was, okay, Kevin Durant doesn't need to guard the number 1 anymore,
right?
Because if you've got Kevin Durant is arguably one of the best pure scorers of all time in the NBA.
Of all time, absolutely.
And if you're gonna tire him out on defense, he's not gonna be able to do what he does on offense. He's a great defender, but you shouldn't be having him be beaten up playing Jason Tatum on defense.
It's a lot to ask somebody to.
That's a lot, and
especially over the course of a season,
40 plus minutes a game or whatever he's going to be. You can't, especially in the big games come playoffs. He's going to be 40 minutes, 38 minutes. You can't expect him to do that for a playoff run. That's a lot.
And so now all of a sudden you look at the Nets and you're like, wow.
Royce O'Neal's a good defender too.
Claxton's playing really well.
Yep.
They all of it, again, winning helps a lot of things, but all of a sudden you got Claxton, now you got Simmons.
Well, you're starting to get some chemistry though,
and you have your starting 5 where they could spread. I mean, Simmons is now like I said, I hate the term point guard, but he's more of a distributor.
Yeah.
And Kyrie's still a distributor. I'm not saying he's not.
That was a fluke.
I still think he's. But I mean, Kyrie Irving's only averaging 4.5 assists a game.
Yeah.
That is something where they've kind of let. Simmons have more of the show when he's out there. He's not playing a ton of minutes.
He's a smart basketball player.
I mean, he's averaging 27 minutes a game, where you have Irving's 36. So he's still going to get his.
Yeah.
He's still going to have time. But when they're on the court together, it kind of seems like they're letting Simmons facilitate, and I think that's why they've had so much success.
Yeah.
Not turning the ball over helps a lot too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But all of a sudden now you're like, oh, they got a center. Whatever. And then the only thing is I see we burned through a lot of time here on those guys.
Yes, we did.
Sucks for the Pelicans. Zion's out 3 weeks.
Yep.
I don't know
what
we're gonna do with that. Luka, if they're anywhere near the top 10, the Mavericks, he's the MVP, right? And we're gonna see.
That's gonna be a big if though.
Right, and we're gonna see too. Golden State right now is 9, but they've won 5 in a row. I think without Steph.
Yeah, still without Steph. They're kind of starting to figure it out a little bit.
Because Steph's gonna be out for a little bit longer, so they just kind of have to hang around. I'm trying to think if there's anything else super worth noting. I mean, the Suns have kind of fallen off a little bit, but Denver's there. Grizzlies are there.
Booker's been injured.
He's been injured, Like I said,
we'll
see what the Pelicans do. Mark Cuban, get Lucas some help. I leaned in so you could hear me a little bit better, but the East is actually kind of playing out pretty similar to what we thought. You have Boston Nets, Bucks, Cavaliers. I mean, Cavaliers are kind of evening out, but they have a lot of time to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you have anything else you want to add in this, and then
no, not really.
Carlos Correa will sign somewhere sometime. I'm sure he's still. Not
I think he's gonna get a short-term deal with a lot of money.
Yep, Devers back to Boston. I think that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. And we're
Devers back to Boston. I didn't know that.
$17 million, 17.5 1 year.
Oh,
1 year. Christ. Yep. So I think this is an Aaron Judge deal.
Yeah.
And
they're gonna lose.
Cost Boston a lot of money. Yeah. So all right, Week 17 podcast. Adam Stone,
Josh Burnett.
Till next time. Yeah.